I heard it.
Hi, John. How are you?
I'm tired. We have about 15 people, I think, so far joined.
Yeah.
Give it another minute or so, and then we should start.
Okay.
How is Cairo?
Good. Very hot.
Is it some? Oh, I guess it's summer already. I mean, you must be heading into summer.
Yeah.
San Francisco is very cold at this time of year.
Oh, really?
The wind comes in off the Pacific about 10 a.m. in the morning. It's
Mm-hmm.
freezing cold. But I think I should make a trip to the MENA region later this year.
Yeah.
Seems to be a lot of activity in Egypt and Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE.
Yes. Yes, indeed.
Your company is headquartered in Saudi Arabia?
Saudi Arabia and Egypt, both of them.
Okay. All right. So we have 17 people. Do you want to make an introduction and then we could probably get going?
Yeah, yeah, sure. Okay, shall we start?
Yep, ready when you are. Go for it. Yes.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. This is Dr. Huda Ibrahim from Saudi DR Consultants, and today we are going to talk about AI for lead reporting and compliance. So, as we all know, that AI can reduce the workload, but the reviewer must always be able to understand where each data point came from. So from a lead and sustainability documentation perspective, I see that the tool that we will present today, enhancement as highly relevant and practical for consultant contractors and the lead reviewer. Hi, John.
Good morning. Good morning. Good afternoon.
Good morning.
Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. I think we still have people joining, but been very impressed by the enthusiasm in the MENA region for this topic. So we've had quite a lot of responses, and Dr. Ibrahim suggested we do a webinar. So very happy to be here. I'm actually in San Francisco at the moment, so it's the middle of the night. So I got up early to come and do this presentation and talk a little bit about artificial intelligence in this space. So I'll start off with a couple of slides, just talking about how artificial intelligence can be applied and some of the ups and downs and positives and negatives around artificial intelligence. And then I will use our platform as a demonstration of how you can actually apply artificial intelligence to compliance, especially in the lead space. So if that's okay, I will share my screen. Okay, we should hopefully be able to see a slide. Dr. Abraham, is that coming through?
Yes, I can see your slide.
Great. So we got to know each other about 2 months ago, probably, and we've been working together since then, talking about artificial intelligence and applications. Very happy to be working with Dr. Ibrahim, very happy to be working with Daya, and very happy to be talking to the MENA region. Looking forward to making a visit there later this year. I've never actually been to that region. So I think there's a lot of activity, a lot of construction, obviously, but also a lot of enthusiasm for technology coming out of the MENA region. So what's happening right now in software in general, not just in AEC, but if we're talking about software right across all industries, for about 25 years, we've had a domination of an architecture called SaaS. This was pioneered by Salesforce back in the late 90s. And fundamentally, SaaS is a website you log into, and there's a database. And the database has information in it. There's ways of getting information into the database. There's ways of getting information out of the database. But that has been the heart and the core of software for about 25 years. So as an architecture, it's worked very, very well. We've all used SaaS products. Salesforce, as I say, was the pioneer. But if you think about it, I probably use 8 or 10 SaaS products on a daily basis. Everything from payroll to CRM to you name it is based around this SaaS architecture. In the last 2 or 3 years, ever since ChatGPT came along, there's now a new software architecture called agentic AI. And agentic AI basically gets rid of the database. So we're no longer working with a central store of information. Now we're working directly with the source documents. So we're pulling information from the original source, and the data can be completely unstructured. It doesn't have to be with SAS. Everything has to be, this is where your name is, this is where your address is, this is where your description is. And so there has to be a very strong structure around SAS. What we're seeing now is a new software architecture where everything can be completely unstructured. It could be just a PDF of any format. So this is a fundamental change going on. I live in Silicon Valley in San Francisco. You can see the bridge behind me. That's actually about a mile from where I live. I can lean out of my window and see the bridge. So I'm in the middle of Silicon Valley, in the middle of the whole artificial intelligence revolution going on. And what it means is probably a once in a lifetime. This only happens every 30 years or so. A completely new software architecture and way of doing things is coming along based around artificial intelligence. And that's coming to the AEC industry, the construction industry, just like it is to every industry. We just happen to be the company that's probably the leader in introducing an agentic AI structure, agentic AI architecture to this industry. But it's happening across the board. Every industry is going to be disrupted. I think the head of Microsoft came on a podcast a few months ago and said SaaS is dead. SaaS isn't dead. SaaS is going to be around, obviously, but the fundamental structure of how you do things today, if you want to go out and get funding from a venture capitalist, you're going to be pitching an agentic AI solution, not a SaaS solution. So this just summarizes a little bit more about why agentic AI is sort of taking over from SaaS. With SaaS, you put information into a database, then you pull information out of that database. There's no correlation between what you take out and what you put in. So if you want to do an audit, you don't know where the information came from. So there's tools like One-Click LCA and Green Badger in the AEC industry. They are big databases. They're very effective, but the databases have to be maintained. People have to put information in. People are always having to keep that database updated, and when you pull information from that database, you don't know who put it in and why they put it in and where the source information came from. So there's no audit trail, and the difficulty is keeping that database current and updated. With an agentic AI, there is no database. We're pulling directly from the source documents. If you want to know where information came from, you go back to the source documents. So completely different approach, and the information is always current. We're using source documents. We're continually checking if there are newer source documents or better source documents. If there are, we use them. So fundamentally, when you're looking for EPDs and HPDs for the lead program, you're pulling from the direct source documents. You're always pulling from the most current documents, and you're always seeing the most updated ground truth. So you're no longer worried about the SAS database being maintained in the middle. If you get into artificial intelligence, we work with people a lot with artificial intelligence, and there's always a few concerns. So the first one is the data accurate? We probably have all experienced hallucinations by artificial intelligence. You can ask ChatGPT questions, and sometimes it comes back with answers that are incorrect or incomplete. It makes things up. This is the way large language models work, and that is a valid concern. And there's lots of technical things you can do to check the data. In our case, we use human in the loop at every step. So any information that gets submitted to USGBC has been checked by a human before it's submitted. And you again go back to the source document to make sure you're actually putting information from the right places. So it's a valid concern, but there's human in the loop. And when we go out to search for documents, we actually use multiple AI agents. We don't use a single one. We use 6 in parallel. They all are going to pull back slightly different results. And then we use a judge AI agent to actually rank those results and show them up to the user. And we'll go through a demonstration of this in a moment. So when you ask for a search, we're going to go out, we're going to find every document that's possibly relevant. We're going to serve up the relevant documents in order. And we're also going to reject documents that are too old or seem incorrect or too generic. And then the human ultimately decides which documents are used for data extraction and then approves the data that has been extracted. So AI is accurate if used in the right way, but it can generate false results. Hallucinations are a real thing with artificial intelligence and something you have to be aware of. And then there's also concerns around security. Will information we put into AI be used to train AI? Yes. If you use ChatGPT, every question you ask ChatGPT is also going into the training of ChatGPT for future users. So if you put sensitive information into ChatGPT, there is the possibility that future users will see that sensitive information. We don't do that. We use what's called Google Vertex AI. This is an enterprise version of artificial intelligence. And anything you put in is kept private. So high security, there is no training of information. And the only thing we're putting into Google Vertex, is waste dockets and then manufacturer's part numbers. So very, very limited information. There is no information about specific projects. It's just going in to use to be able to train to actually answer the questions, not being used to train the AI. If you're audited because USGBC comes back and says, okay, prove to me this data point is real, well, we're actually going straight back to the source documents. So again, very different to Green Badger or one-click LCA. You're not pulling information out of a database. You're pulling information directly from the source documents. We give you those source documents. They're annotated with information. This is where we got this particular piece of information from. So an audit trail is implicit in the way we do things. And then probably the final concern I get about artificial intelligence, and it comes up obviously in the news media a lot, is artificial intelligence going to replace your job? I don't believe so. I think artificial intelligence is a massive productivity enhancer. think it can make you be able to do things much more quickly. You can do a lot more things. So what used to take a day or 2 days now can take an hour or half an hour. But if you know how to use AI, you become much more valuable to your employer than if you don't know how to use AI. I think people who don't know how to use AI, people who are ignoring AI, yes, you have a challenge. I think going forward, it's very, very important to understand these tools, understand how to use them, be able to use them, and understand their limitations, their pluses and minuses. But if you know how to use AI, I think you'll be much more valuable than if you don't know how to use AI. So just to summarize, it's an amazing tool. It's a huge productivity enhancer, especially for something like lead reporting, where there's a lot of paperwork and a lot of manual work. We can absolutely improve and enhance and accelerate that process. And if you know how to use this, I think this is it's only a positive thing. If you ignore it, then yes, I think there's concerns about how relevant will you be in your job in a year's time, because this is happening if you like it or if you don't like it. And artificial intelligence is going to change, has already changed our world, and is going to continue to change our world, and is going to come to every aspect of the jobs we do. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about my company and my tool. The reason I'm doing that is we're the first company to be in the construction industry with agentic AI. So I need to use us as an example because we're the company that's out there. But let me talk a little bit about AI and why we did what we did. This all started late last year, September 2025, when a friend of mine who runs a general contractor came to me and said, could you do anything to automate reporting around around lead? Um, he's based out of Pittsburgh in the eastern US, and Pittsburgh's quite a big town for universities. You have the University of Pittsburgh, Carnegie Mellon, Duquesne University. So there's 7 or 8 major educational establishments in Pittsburgh, and they all require lead. And as a general contractor, when he's working on those jobs, this is Volpat Construction. Michael Volpat came to me and said, I have to submit these reports to the USGBC. They're kind of a lot of work. They're not fun to do. You have to pull data from all sorts of places. You have to pull down these EPDs and HPDs. They're hard to find. So they were spending a lot of hours on lead reporting. They had a project right then for Carnegie Mellon University, in fact. Myself and Chandika Mendes, who's my co-founder, got to work on creating an artificial intelligence solution to help him with his reporting requirements. We all know lead reporting. Most of us probably on this call know lead reporting. Hunting down paperwork, extracting information from the paper, missing information leads to stress because it leads to missed deadlines. And essentially, we're paying a lot of money for very intelligent people to go around and be data entry clerks. So they're spending their time looking at data sheets, finding specific information, pulling that information out, putting it into a spreadsheet, submitting that spreadsheet to USGBC. So it seems like an obvious area that automation and artificial intelligence can help. And really, this is where we got started. We launched the product in March, so it's quite new. Got to know Dr. Ibrahim probably April, and she suggested that we do a webinar about the whole subject for this region. Hence, I'm up at 2 a.m. doing this presentation. So what we want to do is minimize data entry. So how do we use artificial intelligence to accelerate the whole process? And basically, and I'll show you a demonstration in just a second, but our approach is you enter the manufacturer name, you enter the part number, and then artificial intelligence pretty much does the rest. You approve each step of the way. So it shows you which documents it's going to use for data extraction. You say, yes, those are the right documents. The artificial intelligence then does the data extraction. It's very effective. It can read just about any document you can think of. Complicated documents, tables, even calculated documents. We're working on right now extracting information from EPDs where you have roof tiles of different thickness. You have tapered roof tiles where it tells you to take the median number, the average number of the thickness, and use that to calculate the recycled content. So lots of interesting corner cases that we're covering. But basically, we use AI to extract the information for you from data sheets directly and serve the information up in USGBC formats and with a full audit trail. So you have the documents, you have the source documents where the data came from, you have the marked up documents where the data was extracted from, and you can show USGBC exactly where you got each data point. So audit becomes a very straightforward process. We also handle the recycling side of things. So we're working mostly with general contractors and lead consultants. So usually construction is underway. What's recycled and not recycled is something that's relevant. So we allow you to just upload waste dockets to our tool, and all the recycling content will be extracted from the waste documents. They can be handwritten, they can be muddy, they can be coffee stained. Artificial intelligence is very effective at extracting information from PDFs, whatever their format. So we provide a recycling waste module, so you can actually report the waste and recycling through the project alongside the BPDO and LEM calculations. We're going to find information that human beings probably aren't going to find. So we have a very sophisticated web crawler. This will go out and it will look at manufacturers' sites. It will look at industry associations. We recently formed a partnership with NAPA, the National Asphalt and Paving Association in North America. So we have access to their 7,000 EPDs for asphalt mixers. This is something that isn't easily found using Google or ChatGPT as a search. So there's going to be information we find in hidden parts of the internet that you're not going to find using a manual search. And I've already mentioned this slide. This actually helps a lot with subcontractors. So certainly in North America, I don't know if it's the same in the MENA region, but we have the lead reporting is something that subcontractors are pushed to do by general contractors. Subcontractors hate doing it, so they push back on general contractors and say, it's not our job, it's your job. General contractors push back and say, no, you guys should be doing it. So this is something that happens quite a lot with subcontractors in North America. Our tool makes this much simpler. So there's going to be less friction between general contractors and subcontractors. And it's totally audit proof. We connect the source straight back to the source document. So your report to ESGBC, any data that's queried, you can show the source document, where it was queried from, where the data was pulled from, and a markup on the document showing exactly where that information came from. Thank you very much for that piece of the presentation. I'm going to put this up just for a second or two and ask for some questions. So we are entering the MENA market. This is brand new to us. We've been working in North America exclusively so far, but we are coming to the Middle East and North Africa. And we are looking for people who would like to work with us on the first few projects. There's probably some regional stuff we're not aware of, because every region is slightly different. So I'd imagine there's things in the MENA region that are going to be new to us. So we'd like to offer up to 5 companies the opportunity to work with us on very preferential terms, and help us guide the product into the MENA region and come up with specific use cases and specific features for the MENA region. If you're interested, my email is there, jburton@corerunway.com. Please contact me. We will offer some, very preferential terms to get the first projects going. And we'd like input from people in the region about the things we need to do to make this product really effective and attractive for MENA customers. So please let me know if that's something that's of interest to you. And with that, I'll pause for just a second, see if there are any questions, and I'll then go into a quick demonstration. Please type questions into the chat. If there aren't any, then we can move on to the next thing. Somebody said we cannot hear. I'm hoping I can be heard. I think Dr. Ibrahim, you'd have said something by now.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the voice is clear or not, but
Okay, well, let me move on to the demonstration.
Okay.
Okay, so when you question is, can we get this done for lighting as well? I'm not entirely sure what that means. Anybody, Dr. Abraham, perhaps you understand what that question is about.
Yeah, this question is about the lighting documentation for some credits related to design stage.
Hmm.
So the submission for lighting, for exterior lighting, for light pollution reduction credit, and interior lighting for interior lighting credits. There are a lot of submission and documentation related to this. So can the tool read for example, the color rendering index and the glare control from the data sheets, or bring the LDT files and IAS files for the lighting fixtures, exterior and interior, and track the lighting power density, some technical information actually. And it's even if the designer has already achieved the points during design, the contractor need to prove that they are complying during construction as well. So what about the rest of the material submittal rather than the EBD and the HPT and the material construction credits?
So yes, we can absolutely do that. That would be an extension to what we're doing at the moment. First time I've been asked that question. So unfortunately, I'm not from the construction industry. I'm from Silicon Valley. So we're coming at this from a technical perspective. We're not very knowledgeable about construction. As I say, there's a friend of mine who's a general contractor asked me, that's how we got involved in this whole idea. But yes, absolutely. If it involves just pulling technical information from data sheets and creating the relevant form to submit to USGBC, probably take us a couple of days to implement that, a week maximum. So yes, absolutely, we can do that. Something I will definitely take up with the technical team later today when everyone's awake. But it sounds like a very interesting extension to what we're doing at the moment. In reference to low emitting materials credit, how does the tool determine if it's submitted as categorized indoor or outdoor? I don't know. Something
Yeah,
again.
so the low emitting material credit related to the VOC and formaldehyde, the content. So there's indoor VOC content and emission test, and other outdoor VOC content or emission test depending on the lead the project. So I believe that it's already included in the technical data sheet of the submittal, and it's also and this is a recommendation for all designer to not just mention the sustainability, the general sustainability specification, and each related section in the specification. It shall also mention the related sections, indoor and outdoor, for the liquid applied products and the products that have emissions inside the buildings. So we are not sure how to compare the specification with the submittals, because usually the documentation for the submittals mention for example, the section for the specification. So if we upload the specification from the design team, and the quality of documentation mention also the specification section. So can it compare and extract the data and categorize if it's indoor or outdoor, and yeah, so something like that. Is it applicable on the tool?
I've never come across it before. As this is, I'm fairly new to this whole area, but
Mhm.
absolutely, if it's something that the USGBC requires you to identify if it's indoor or outdoor, yes, we can absolutely, add that to the reporting side of this thing.
Mhm.
Okay, so when you log in, you're going to see a list of projects. It's going to look like this. We've got 6 projects here. So you'll only see the projects that your administrator has given you permission to see. So it's possible inside one organization for people to be able to see some projects, not all of them. In this case, this is just a test account that we've set up. If people are interested in working with us, the first step is we'll create an account specifically for you, and you will see just one project, which is one that we provide as an example. When you go in, you can then click on a project and you'll get to a dashboard. At the top of the dashboard, you're going to have recycling and waste diversion. So in this case, we've got 281 tons, 85.5% diverted, 14% not diverted. That's cumulative for the whole project. You can also do it by specific months. So any month that there was actually waste reported, you can go and look at that. I don't know if it's the same in MENA, but in North America, you have this idea of alternative daily cover, which you can either have or not have. And that affects the waste numbers. It's a pretty complicated calculation. There's also here a list of the different waste haulers that have provided information for this report, and some of them have a recycled content. So again, gets into the complexities of the US GBC reporting, but we handle all the different ins and outs of how you report waste and recycling. So this is just your lead score, but you also have AI recommendations. So these will tell you, based on what you've done and based on USGBC reference material, the tool will come up with recommendations on how you can improve your lead score by doing certain things. So this is waste and recycling. Then further down you have the BPDO, and the same thing, your lead score, different products that have been reported to the tool, and your recommendations on how the lead score can be improved. And then even further down, we low emitting materials. So we have the same thing. And the way this information is derived, fundamental differences, again, we're not working with a database. We're working directly with source documents. So in terms of diversion, you drop the documents into the tool. I'll show you one of the lead dockets that we're using. So this is a handwritten one. That's fine. Artificial intelligence is really, really good at excuse me, go away. Really, really good at being able to process complex, hard to read, handwritten dockets. So in this case, this is one of the waste hauling documents. This is actually a real project. So this was in Pittsburgh, one of the first areas we got started. And this is a real docket that we read into the tool, extracted the information from. And if it can't read the docket for any reason, the information docket, then it will tell you that the green processed here means it was successful in reading the information. If we very, very rarely we have the situation where the artificial intelligence can't read the information, it'll let you know. I was talking to Dr. Ibrahim about being able to read Arabic documents. So I actually converted one of our documents to Arabic, and then read that through the tool, and it worked just great. But I understand it's not very common. I think most things in the MENA region are in English. But if for any reason you have an Arabic document, EPD, BPD, HPD, or a waste docket in Arabic, yes, we can handle that. In fact, we can handle any major language, so Chinese, Korean, anything that's non-English, as long as it's a major language, we can handle that as well. So anything that's dropped in here will be turned into a waste docket. And then going over to the lead material submission, this is where you put in materials. So you need to know the manufacturer's name and you need to know the product name. Once you have those two things, we do the rest. So if I create a new one, we have a lot of manufacturers now at this point in the tool, but you can always add new ones. And if you add a new manufacturer that isn't in this list, the tool would go out and it will check that that manufacturer is real. So if you put in something completely random, it'll reject it. But if you put in a real manufacturer's name or something close to a real manufacturer's name, it will go out, it will find the real manufacturer's name, it will recommend spelling changes, variations, and it will then put this into this list. So as we build this tool out, the more and more people who use it, the better and better the tool's going to get, and the better and better the information feedback will be. Once you have the manufacturer's name, you're then looking for the product name. Again, if it's a new product that isn't in our list, just type it in. The tool will again check that that product name exists or something around that product name exists. It will reject if it's too generic or if there's it'll recommend spelling mistakes, and it will come back and it will show you, alternatives. Once you've selected a manufacturer's name and a product name, you move on to the next step. This is where you go out and you look for documents on the internet. We have a lot of documents we've already downloaded. We, as I said, have just formed a relationship with the Asphalt organization where we have access to 7,000 asphalt EPDs. We're doing the same thing on concrete, wood, flooring, steel, all the common construction materials. So a lot of the information we'll probably have in our catalog at some point. But if you don't find the information or it's a new manufacturer product name, then you go out and you look on the internet and it will go out as a web crawler. It'll find information pretty much better than a human being. It goes through paywalls, it goes through subscription walls, it navigates complicated searches where a lot of manufacturers have their information kind of hidden behind a complex search. So it'll crawl through all those things and it will find a lot of information. It'll then come back, look at the documents as an artificial intelligence and say, these seem the most relevant. You can see here I've got 4 documents AI rejected. So I can actually include those and see why AI rejected it. If I click on that, this one's not a primary EPD, likely an environmental fact sheet or redundant. So AI said this one doesn't seem that relevant, but if you want to, you can still include it. You can actually look at whatever the documents are, so you can, before you do data extraction. So in this case, we've got a technical data for Forbo. This looks like something I probably do want to use, so I'd probably say yes, this is something I should extract data from. So I'd put a tick next to that one, and that probably this one. And then download and attach the selected documents. This will then say, okay, these documents these are the 3 documents we're going to use to actually extract data from. Go to the next step. I'd actually extract data from files. Now the AI is crawling through those PDFs and it's looking for relevant EPD, HPD information. And it will then populate those EPDs and HPDs. And I'll go to one that's already been done so we can actually see what it looks like. So here we've got the EPDs, the project information has been populated by the artificial intelligence. And here we've got an interesting one, pre-consumer recycle percentage. This was actually a fairly tough piece of information to find. So if you go to the source document, this is where the artificial intelligence got it from. It pulled that information out of this table. And you can see if I mouse over, why it got it from here, what it got from here. That's a fairly, for a human being, that's a fairly tough thing to do, to be able to go in and look at a fairly complex table and find an entry for this specific recycled content. We're dealing with some really complicated use cases at this point. We're dealing with things like tapered roof tiles, where you have to take the average thickness and use that to look up the recycling number. We can do that using artificial intelligence. Again, it's very, very effective at pulling information from source documentation. So once you have all this information populated and you're pretty comfortable that we've got everything in here we want to get in here, you go on to the submittal information if you're working with a subcontractor. So the subcontractor name would go in, the submittal material cost, which is needed for the EPD, BPDO and LEM calculation. And then once you're finished, you save it, say it's complete, and that gets added to the final calculated download. So here you can download the USGBC ready submittal forms. This comes with all the PDFs that we used if you want to use, to submit a full packet. So in this case, we've got all the waste dockets, or down here, we've got BPDO and LEM calculators. And again, you can include all the documents. This will attach all the PDFs to the submittal. So you have the source documentation that we used to generate the material. If I go back to this real quick, it's wasteful ink, sorry, wrong tab. I go to this one real quick. Something else we do is compare across files. So when you submit multiple documents to extract information from, very often the same information is going to be copied across multiple documents. So here we see we've got 3 different files. We pulled 8 fields from this one, 7 from this one, 5 from that one. There may be information that is some documents may be irrelevant because the information in that document's contained in other documents. So we always minimize the number of documents. We look at all the different information we're pulling. We figure out what needs to be pulled from each file, and we then minimize. So some documents can be discarded because they're superfluous. The information has already been pulled from other files. So in that case, we discard that document when you download this final report. You will only get the documents that are absolutely needed for the extraction of the data. Okay, I think that covers pretty much the presentation and the demonstration. I have a couple of questions. So a couple of things coming up in the chat. Hang on a second. How do I get the chat back up? Thanks for the presentation. I understand this correctly. It seems this tool will mainly streamline material and resources credit, which is 1 out of 9. Concept seems very promising, but there should be much more features supporting other criteria. Love to work with companies on what those features should be. We're using artificial intelligence to actually create the tool. So our speed of development is extremely fast because we actually, what would have taken a team of 10 software developers a year ago, we can do now in next to no time. So if you have interest and things you'd like to include in the tool, I would love to hear from you and will absolutely work with you to implement those features as fast as possible. Does the tool have ability to acclimatize itself with the particular project specification, train itself as a user, keep using it? Yes, absolutely. So there's a human in the loop at every stage. We legally do not stand behind the results. We're an enhancer, not an end result. So we're a tool that helps you find the information, helps you retrieve the information, helps you get data out of the relevant documents. But ultimately, it's the end user's responsibility to actually say this information is correct, and I'm submitting it to USGBC. Every time you input something to the tool, it trains it. So if you say, here's 20 documents and these 11 are the most relevant, that will train the tool to tell the next user that it'll serve up those documents ahead of anything else. So yes, the tool gets better. The more people use it, the more inputs it has, the better it gets. So great questions and great inputs. And yes, I would love to work on doing additional features that can be done to make this better and more useful. Can we send you ideas for product enhancements? Absolutely. Can you join? Can you join a mailing list? Yep. I just need to know your email. I actually have your emails, I think probably, but anybody who sends me their email will absolutely add you to the update list. Dr. Hiran's been getting regular updates because she's been using the tool herself. So she's been getting regular, about once a week, we send out new features. As I say, we're using artificial intelligence for the product development as well as using it for the actual product delivery. So if you ask for a feature on a Monday, we'll probably have it to you by Friday. We're moving incredibly quickly. This is my 6th startup in my career, and the speed of development now is 10 times as fast with 1/10 as many people as it used to be. So we can deliver things very, very fast indeed. Anything you want, please let us know. Very happy to oblige.
But here we have one tricky question, which is related to the water budget and energy efficiency simulation, indoor air quality, and site resilience. So for the water budget, it's mainly related to a technical data sheet from manufacturer for the plumbing fixtures, the faucets and showers and so on. So I'm not sure if the tool can recommend some fixtures to get a certain percentage saving in water?
We need to understand the rules. We're as I say, we're from Silicon Valley. We're tech people who got kind of pulled into this, so we don't know lead, we don't know understand. But once we
Yeah.
understand the rules, yeah, absolutely, artificial intelligence is very good at if you
Yeah,
if you tell it
this
tell it tell
one,
it what to do, it'll do it.
yeah, this one can be done, I believe, but the energy efficiency and simulation, this is, I think it can only provide some recommendation for savings, but the simulation itself, it's a very complicated that needs the model to be built in specific softwares, and so this is more complicated. I'm not sure if this can be done.
I'd have to get into the details. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
almost everything can be done. How much effort it is, but I think of artificial intelligence as a intern that's just joined your company. Yeah, lots of intelligence, lots of capability to do things, needs to be given fairly precise instructions to tell it what to do. Once you
Mhm.
provide those instructions, then yeah, it can generate just anything. So we're completely wide open for inputs on the next thing to do, the features to add. People who come to us with questions and proposals, we're very, very happy to figure out what can and can't be done. We're a firm that does lead consulting and architecture. Do you have a tool that will help compare specific products? Yes, we're working on that right now with with an architecture firm here in the US, or a couple of architecture firms here in the US. Um, what we can do today is we can, if you know the products, we'll be able to pull them down and show side by side comparison of the different features. If you don't know the products, that's a more complex requirement. So having the tool go out and find every product that meets the specification. I want something that's lead compliant, distributed locally, costs within this range. That's a future requirement. That's something we have on our roadmap. But if here's I know the four different types of roof tiling I want to compare. Yeah, we'll have that. That's underway. That'll be done within a week or so. I mean, that's a current requirement. So two different
Yeah,
things. If you know the requirements, we can absolutely compare. If you just want to put a generic question in, that's going to be a future.
yeah. To make it simple, if the designer have a finishing list, so the AI tool can recommend some products that have EBD, HBD, and so on. I believe we can. This can be done, right?
Hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. These are all things on our roadmap to extend what we've got so far. We've done a lot of the foundational work. As I say, there's a lot of corner cases of EPDs and HPDs about complicated data sheets that cover a range of products rather than a single product. That's kind of one of the things we're working on today is you know every roof tile between 0.1 of an inch and 1 inch thickness, they all have different recycling content.
Mhm.
So that's be able to cover all those use cases is something we're doing at the moment. But yeah, fascinated to hear other use cases that people want. And like I say, we're very nimble. We're a startup. We're able to do things very, very quickly.
Good.
We have about 10 minutes left. Anybody got any other questions or inputs? Or as I say, we're looking for a few people to work with because I suspect there's some MENA specific requirements. We've started working a little bit in Europe, and we found there's some specific European stuff that we need to cover. Some stuff in Korea we've started working with where we found some specific Korean stuff that needs to be covered. Um, so very interested to work with people who want to get in early, get a very preferential deal. We'll charge you a minimal amount, but we're looking for people to kick projects off that help us get the tool better for the specific region. I'd love to make a trip out to MENA later in this year. Okay, doesn't look like there's any other questions. Dr. Ibrahim, is there anything else? Oh, one more.
We have one more question in question and answer tab. So as AI becomes more prevalent and building management system, do you anticipate new lead credits specifically addressing AI-enabled sustainability and smart building technology?
Interesting question. We're talking a lot to USGBC at the moment because we're going to integrate directly with the ARC system. We were going to do that for Lead 5, and now last couple of days, Lead 5 got pushed out a year. So we may do it for Lead 4.1. But I can certainly ask. I haven't spoken to them about that, but I think they're very interested in artificial intelligence and how it can be used because the biggest barrier to lead is the paperwork. That's the
Yeah.
reason people don't do lead is the paperwork's kind of a heavy burden. So that's a possibility, but I haven't even discussed it with them, but I'm more than happy to bring it up with our contacts at USGBC. Any room for dual certification? Here in KSA, most of the project goes for lead and MOSDAM. I don't know what MOSDAM is.
The
We're
most of
very
them is a rating system, local rating system in Saudi Arabia.
okay. Um, for us to create a new report in a different format is a minimal task. So if we can use the same source information to create the MOSDAM report, then yes, we can do that in a couple of days probably. So please let us know what MOSDAM looks like, and what what information. If the information, again, source information is roughly the same, then we can create the output in almost no time at all. We're doing that in the US for Cal Green, which is a California specific green building certification. And then there's something in the US called Buy Clean, Buy Right, which is run by 6 states, I think, at this point. And again, it's a slightly different report format, but basically the same information. So very easy for us to create that. Okay, it's 2:52 a.m. where I am. I think I might go back to bed for a bit. So if
Thank you
there
very
aren't
much,
any
John.
if there aren't any more questions, but I will stay awake as long as there are more questions. But if there aren't any more, we can wrap this up. I really appreciate everyone coming along. We had a great response to this webinar. It was Dr. Ibrahim's idea, and I thank you very much for suggesting it. Really enjoyed doing it. We're running one in the US actually later today because I think we had 7 or 8 US companies sign up for this, which is at 5 a.m. Eastern Coast. So as you go,
Mhm.
it's even earlier in the morning as you go further west. So we actually ended up putting a US one together. And I think we got 20 or so companies signed up for that, but very strong response from the MENA region, about 70 companies, and a good number of people this morning or this afternoon. Uh, Love to come to the region. I think it's fascinating that there's a lot of construction going on in MENA, a lot of enthusiasm for new technology.
Mhm.
A lot of people recognizing that, if you've got a career of 20, 30 years ahead of you, artificial intelligence is going to be part of it if you like it or not. And probably embracing the technology and really understanding it and getting to use it is going to be a very positive thing going forward. Some concerns, some fears, some trepidation about artificial intelligence, which is totally valid. But used right, I think it can be an amazing productivity enhancer. And I think starting with lead and moving into other standards like MOSDAM, WELL, Cal Green, BREEAM, compliance in general. I think it's going to be a very, very active area in the construction industry for the next few years. So thank you so much for taking your time. We'll have a recording of this. We'll send out to everybody. You're more than happy to answer any questions. Say jburton@corerunway.com. Looking for projects to do in the MENA region at a very preferential rate, so we can really understand. I mean, even in this call, we've heard about MOSDAM. First time I've heard of it. That's the sort of information I'd love to know more about, so we can tailor the product specifically for the region and generate something that really works specifically for the MENA. Okay, I think I'm done for the day, for the morning.
Thank you. Thank you very much, John. Thank you, everyone, for attending, and I hope
Yes.
you enjoyed the webinar.
Have a great afternoon, and I'm going to go back to sleep. All
Thank
right.
you.
Thanks everyone. Bye.
Bye.